Hi everyone, Leah here, founder of TaskRabbit. I'm excited to welcome you today to our 4th episode of Collaboratively Speaking. Today we're going to talk with Airbnb's Director of Trust in Safety and Customer Service, Monroe Labouisse. Let's go check out what Monroe has to say. So Monroe, thanks so much for joining us. You're here from Airbnb. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Airbnb?
Sure. I'm the Director of Customer Service and Trust and Safety for Airbnb. I've been there for about 10 months now, and before that I worked at eBay and PayPal for 10 years doing similar things.
Cool. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about your background, because it's really interesting. I mean, eBay, over 5 years working in trust and safety and customer experience and satisfaction. Yeah. How did that experience translate to what you're doing now with Airbnb?
Yeah, so I was with eBay and PayPal for 10 years altogether.
Wow.
And 6 of that was with PayPal. Started out at eBay, and I, from very early on, got involved with consumer protection programs.
Okay.
So I would say for the majority of the time that I was at eBay and PayPal, one of my main responsibilities was running PayPal buyer protection, also the vehicle purchase protection for eBay Motors, and then I was on the team that helped run eBay buyer protection as well.
Interesting.
So the consumer protection programs are a good blend of both customer service and risk management. Mm-hmm. It's about taking care of customers that are having issues, mm-hmm. But also using that to learn and prevent things from happening as well.
So, a lot of people think that these new collaborative consumption, sharing economy businesses really started with marketplaces like eBay. Do you agree with that? Do you see that as sort of the genesis of this idea, or do you think something differently?
I do see it as the genesis, but we've also, I think, evolved to a new place as well. So definitely eBay is about collaborative consumption.
I mean, when you think back at the challenges that eBay and PayPal conquered, at that time, it was really about getting people comfortable transacting online, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's this whole nother layer of actually getting people comfortable transacting offline, too. Did you ever think that the auction model would be applied to so many different types of businesses?
It's not so much the auction model, just as it is the online marketplace model. Mm-hmm. I think is what it is. Mm-hmm. And even eBay today, majority of transactions are not auction. It was a good.
It's like the buy it now sort of quick transactions.
It was a good place to start, and it also led to a lot more of interaction. Mm-hmm. Having a transaction take place over a longer time period. It's a little bit like the message system on Airbnb, where you don't immediately enter into a transaction, but you take a little time to get to know each other,
right.
To communicate, and that's all part of those layers of trust.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of those are sort of what we would do normally offline, right? And it's kind of trying to mimic that behavior online as well to get people comfortable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, just like social interactions.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to.
So the Trust and Safety Center that you guys have put out is incredibly extensive. It's really, really impressive. Right. Yeah. And so the Trust and Safety Center has really been around for 9 months or so now?
Yeah, I think it's about that, 10.
So what are the areas in that center that resonate with people the most? Where are they gravitating towards? What's been most effective there?
I think one of the most effective things has been 24/7 customer service and launching phone support.
All right.
It may be somewhat counterintuitive because you think trust and safety and you think there may be some other sort of cooler, slicker, risk management feature that goes into it. But one of the things that I learned at eBay in doing consumer research on trust, mm-hmm. is that it's actually the availability of customer service that most builds trust for people.
Interesting. They just want to feel like there's a safety net there.
That there's somebody that they can talk to.
Yeah. I mean, as you look at different cultures, and are the trust barriers different from country to country, from culture to culture? What do you see as differences there?
One really interesting thing is that in countries where the hospitality industry may be a little less developed than it is in the United States, people are actually more comfortable with and familiar with the Airbnb model, because that very old concept of people going and staying in someone else's home when they travel to a certain place is more familiar to them. So that's a really interesting phenomenon that I learned more about when I was traveling in Eastern Europe earlier this year. But likewise in Europe, we are growing very well, and it's in part because people, I think, are actually more open to the to an Airbnb idea. But of course, we also are bringing people together from different countries, and there are cultural and language barriers. And so we're always watching for that to make sure that that people can get along. But it's a great thing about the collaborative consumption movement is that people do want to come together and share. So
many great stories there, I bet.
Yeah, loving it.
I mean, I love that notion of sort of going back to this old time where you did have people come and stay with you at your home. And I was chatting with someone the other day just about how, all of these collaborative consumption marketplaces are kind of a throwback in some way to that old time. And I feel like technology has really gotten to a point where it's been able to enable these offline interactions in a trusted way, just like we've, commerced online as well. So,
I mean, it's information technology and it's communication technology. So, I guess the interesting historical trend is technology like cars and planes kind of drew people apart somewhat, with suburbs and always being on the move. But information technology is helping to bring people back together.
It's really exciting. What are your thoughts on, this is something I've been thinking a lot about, on this idea of sort of cross-industry collaboration around trust, and the idea that your trust and reputation on one platform could be ported with you to another. So if you're, a great host on Airbnb, does that also mean that you'd be a great driver on relay rides? I'm just curious how you think about those interactions there.
I'm interested in it, and I think it's possible. It's not something that we've seen a lot of yet, and not in our industry anyway. But maybe it's something that we do in the future. So definitely something I'd like to keep talking about. There are parallels like credit scores in the banking industry, and sharing of information between credit card companies, right? That are also network businesses where you need to manage that risk in the network and establish trust in using the service. So there are definitely precedents, and it seems like something that's a good possibility, but it's early days yet. So
it is early days, right?
It is very.
It is. So I mean, since it is early days, what do you think's next for this collaborative consumption industry? Do you think there's any untapped marketplaces that we haven't seen yet? Where do you think it's going to go?
There was a time when companies like eBay and AOL weren't sure whether the internet was going to make it. Right. And look where we are, 15 years later or more. And so I think just continuing to deepen the usage of our services amongst bring more people on is really the direction.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is such a new trend in industry. There's a lot of folks out there that aren't really sure if collaborative consumption is a thing that's going to stay, right? Or if it's just this blip, this trend. And so do you kind of see that analogy to early days of eBay and e-commerce?
Sure, and again, it comes back to trust, right? It comes back to us doing our job to make sure that we do build services and marketplaces that can be trusted and that provide a great experience because of it. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So any interesting anecdotes from eBay over to Airbnb? Any surprises? Anything that you expected that was a little bit different when you got there?
Well, one thing that is remarkable about Airbnb that is different from eBay is that our customer service team are remote. Most of them work from home.
Oh, wow.
And we did that on purpose because we actually hired a lot of people who are Airbnb hosts or users of Airbnb. Yeah. And so hearing the feedback that we get from customers saying how nice it is to be on the phone talking with someone who can completely relate to the situation they're in because they've been there.
Right.
Like our customer service people will share anecdotes from their own Airbnb experiences with the people they're talking to on the phone.
Neat. Yeah.
It makes for a great level of service. So that's been a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool. Well, cool. Well, Monroe, it was so wonderful to have you here to talk about collaborative consumption and trust and safety and Airbnb.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.